Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And in a country of which the population is about 3% black, I'm talking, of course, of the UK, it amazes me that a man who has succeeded in life, a millionaire, being successful, happens to be black, says it's racist when black people don't buy tickets to things. No one's banning them. No one's stopping them. But an event is held and these tickets are freely available to everyone. But black people choose not to buy them. And then he says, it's amazing how few black faces there are in the crowd. Well, that's not the organisers' fault. That's not the fault of the people who do go there. It's the fault of the people who choose not to buy the tickets, surely. Let's have a look at this article and ask ourselves why Lenny Henry is obsessed with race. Right, Lenny Henry has a history of looking for racism where none exists. He constantly calls for an increase in representation of black people on television. But in fact, black people, and this has been shown by many studies, black people are already massively overrepresented on television. So let's get away from what goes on in the inner workings of Lenny Henry's racist mind and look at what actually he's saying. And then let's laugh at the idiot, because he really is an idiot. He looks at everything through a prism of racism. But he says here, and I'm not going to go through the whole article because it's quite long, but I will address certain points of it. But he says here, it's interesting to look at the audience and not see any black people there. So Lenny Henry questions the lack of diversity at Glastonbury and says he is always surprised to see so few black and Asian faces in the crowd. Right, okay then, Lenny, the question here isn't why are the sellers of the tickets racist for not selling tickets to black people? Because they're not and they don't. The question here is, why are black people not buying tickets to Glastonbury? Well, it's a rock festival. The tickets are freely available to all, and black people choose not to go. Why is that racist, Lenny? Why is that racist? Nobody's saying that black people can't go. Anyway, he was discussing diversity and places where different ethnic groups do not mix. Well, here's the thing. If you have, let's say, a reggae festival, I guarantee there'll be very few white faces in it, but I guarantee also not many people will be going, why is there so few white people here? It's a cultural thing. So Lenny told the BBC's Clive Myrie in a Radio Times interview, I'm always surprised by the lack of black and brown faces at festivals. I think, wow, that's still very much a dominant culture thing. Yeah, well, you've got to look at the maths here, Lenny. 3%. 3% of the country are black. And they're diversely spread out across the country. And not everyone who's black is going to be into rock music. And not everyone who's black and into rock music is going to have the ability to take time off, in the middle of June. And of those who are black and are into rock music and do have the cultural ability, do have the ability to take off time in the middle of June, not a lot of them will be able to afford the very, very expensive tickets. And of them who can afford, who have got to meet all of that and have got that, well, we all know the tickets sell out in about 15 minutes. So it's a case of how quickly can they get on and get the tickets. So yeah, one only has to look at that and realise that's why there's so few black people going to the crowds, because it's not something they want to do. He's looking for racism where none exists. He says it's great to have David Olusoga on television talking about black British history, and that goes back to Hadrian's Wall. Somewhere the gatekeepers have changed because now we're allowed to have you on Mastermind. But how long did that take? Well, okay, he's talking about Clive Myrie becoming the first black presenter of Mastermind, a television quiz show. In its history, there's only been 3 presenters of Mastermind. One was an Icelandic man, Magnus Magnusson. One was a Welshman. Current one, he's just finished, Edmonds. And now we've got Clive Myrie. So in its entire history, 1/3 of all the presenters have been black. Not good enough for Lenny. Oh no. And incidentally, I will point out, when he mentioned Hadrian's Wall, Yeah, there were black people in Britain there. The Romans come over. They brought black people with them. That's how long black people have been in this country. It's not a new thing. Black people have been here for 2,000 years. And the great thing that Lenny fails to point out here, because doesn't want the truth out, because that would be against his agenda, I suppose, is that for several years, everyone in Britain was a slave to a black man. Oh yeah, because the Emperor Severus, who came to Britain, and we were slaves of the Roman Empire, and he was the emperor, and Severus was black. He actually died here, and he's buried in York. You can go to his tomb. So all the white people in this country were slaves to a black emperor. Why aren't you mentioning this one, Lenny? Does it not agree with your agenda? Of course not. So, yeah, the massively overrepresented minority of black people on television, as I say, because they represent 3% of the population, but there's way, way more. And every study has always shown that they are massively overrepresented on television. That's not good enough for the racist Lenny Henry. He says, we still want more representation because we deserve it. You've got massive overrepresentation now. Why do you want even more? He says, we are British citizens and we are colonials. You're not a colonial, pal. You were born in Dudley. And let me tell you, Dudley has never been a colony. Right? So get over yourself. We've been in this country, we've grown up in this country, and we've contributed a lot. Yeah, okay, yes you have. I agree, completely agree. He says, but a lot of us still feel it isn't being reciprocated enough. Oh really, get over yourself. You've sat in this country and you've made millions and you've been successful. Ah, bless. Is it not enough? Come on. Come on. So, in 2008, Glastonbury organisers were forced to defend their choice of rapper Jay-Z to headline that year's events after claims it had upset traditional rock fans and led to poor ticket sales. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with the colour of the man's skin. Let's be honest here. Glastonbury is a rock festival. Rock festival. Not a rap festival. Not a country and western festival. Rock. So if you're leading with someone who's not a rocker, you can't blame that on racism. Now, I'm going to guarantee if instead of Jay-Z, you put Lenny Kravitz, say. If you brought Lenny Kravitz on and he sat there, played a bit of rock, crowd goes wild. Crowd does not care one iota about this colour of Lenny Kravitz's skin. They care that they've got Lenny Kravitz playing a bit of hard banging rock and they're getting on down to it. Yeah? That's all that matters. Nobody then would have complained. It wouldn't be, oh look, black man playing real rock music. Oh no. No, it would be, hey man, Lenny Kravitz playing rock music. Yeah, baby. And that's it. If you could reanimate the long dead corpse of Jimi Hendrix and bring him on, and he went and started playing, nobody would care that he was black. Everyone would care that he's playing fantastic rock music. These people are looking for racism where it doesn't exist. It's a rock festival. If you put a country and western singer up, you know what you're going to get. It'll be the inverse of the Blues Brothers. Think of that. They've walked into that old good old boys barn and it's got the caging in front. And they start singing a blues song and all the bottles get thrown. So they have to end up singing country and western. It's exactly that. Anyway, it's just he's looking for racism wherever he can find it. I'm going to come down a bit here because it's just him whining like a little bee about, oh, I did this and I did this. It was 50 years ago, Lenny. Get over it. Get over yourself. World's a different place these days. Last year, Sir Lenny called for the BBC and other traditional broadcasters to follow the lead of Netflix in casting actors that represents Britain's ethnic diversity. I'd love to see that. Yeah, that'd be great. 1. Let's get rid of all the black people off television. 2. Let's get rid of all the Asian people off television. 3. Let's get rid of all the gay and lesbian people off television. Because that's what these people are calling for. They're saying they want representation. If you gave them representation, they'd be in the streets crying. Because they have no concept of how small their groups are. You only have to look I mean, the classic one is adverts. For God's sake, the adverts. According to the adverts, every couple in Britain is mixed race. Honestly, you couldn't. You watch it and it's mixed race, mixed race, mixed race. And I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to show that hey, we don't care. We're not showing racism. But what they're actually not doing is showing reality. They're virtue signalling by lying. And so if they're lying about that, how can you believe anything about their product? But this call for demanding diversity, demanding representation, actually is not what they're calling for. They're calling for it. The words are coming out of their mouth. But if you were to actually give them exactly what they're calling for, they would be in tears. And I think we should. I think it would just, as an abject lesson in stupidity, give them exactly what they're asking for. In an op-ed piece for the Mirror last year, Slenny, who also hit out at the use of diversity, arguing it should be replaced with fairness. Absolutely, I go along with that. Fairness is brilliant, right? That way, you aren't giving roles to people based on colour or sex or age or any other sort of grouping or divisional point. You could be fair by giving it to people who've earned it, who have got the experience and the knowledge and the skills. A meritocracy. That's fair. I completely agree. Let's not give the role to the black person. Let's give the role to the person who's best suited for the role. Let's not give the role to the gay person. Let's give this role to this person who's a better actor. Let's not give this senior position to someone because they happen to be a woman. Let's give it to this person who's actually done more for the company over the last 30 years than that person. That would be fair. But again, he's using the word fairness, and he doesn't mean fairness. He means, let's give it to the woman, let's give it to the black man, let's give it to the disabled man, let's give it to the Asian. Let's not give it. What he's saying is fairness is, let's not give it to the white man. That's what he's saying. He's saying, despite women making up roughly half of all film students, they make up only 13.6% of working film directors. Listen, dear heart, I have worked on a set and I have seen the difficulty of operating a camera rig. I've seen 4 people on a rig. You've seen the actual director of photography, you've seen a focus puller, you've seen the communications guy that comes in and out, and then you've seen the assistant director of photography, second assistant, who will be the lensman and be swapping this out and doing something like that. You can have 4 people working one simple camera rig. It's highly technical, often needing a technical degree. And we know that in STEM subjects, it's predominantly females do the arts degrees and the men do the science degrees. This is an actual fact. With the exception, I think, of biology, which is something like 80% women in biology. For some reason, I was very good at biology. But that is why it's predominantly men. It's because it actually requires a lot of technical knowledge that women choose not to do. No one's banning women from becoming directors. It's women choosing not to be directors. You see, you're looking for division where there is none. Oh, why aren't there more female directors? Well, I don't know. Ask the women why they don't want to be directors. You see, because to become a director, you've really got to know your camera, because you've got to know the shots that you can get out of that camera. So you need like a technical degree to operate these camera rigs. And then to step up from there to become the director is hard as well. No one's saying women can't do it. No one's banning. There's no law saying women can't do it. What it is women choosing not to do it. But I tell you what, you go in on any set, you go and get your hair and makeup done, 90%, 95% women. Costumes, 70, 75% women. Seriously. Women choose to do those things. You get in the technical side. I have yet to see, and I've worked on many sort of places, I've yet to see a female boom operator. This is, I mean, I've seen female sound recordists, I've seen female sound engineers. I have never seen a female boom operator. What's that about? And that, before you think it's just standing there holding a stick, let me tell you, no it isn't. I've done boom operating. If you're doing a multi-camera rig with a series of different lights, you've got to make sure that where you get that mic in here, but it can't be seen by the camera. So you've got to put it down, but it's still got to be close enough to pick up the voice. So you see that, imagine my finger is the boom, is the mic. You've got to get it out of shot, but only just out of shot, so that it still picks up the sound. But then you've got a camera over there and a camera over there. So you've got to make sure that it's close enough to pick up the sound, but not seen by any of the cameras. But better than that, not casting any shadow that any of the cameras can see. Let me tell you, sometimes you find yourself in all sorts of positions trying just to get a sound. Then you've got to hold it there sometimes because the sound recorder will say, right, give me 30 seconds of ambient. And everyone's got to hold their breath. You know. So, yeah, I give a little applause to boom operators. I know how hard it is. Very underappreciated. Anyway, he goes on a lot because he's always going on. He says, according to Reuters Institute, only 0.2% of British journalists are black. Ask black people why they don't want to be journalists. It's not people not employing black journalists, it's people who are black not being journalists, yeah? It says only 0.3% of the total film workforce are disabled. Ask disabled people why they don't want to work in film. Alright, admittedly you can't have a blind man as a director of photography. I grant you that. But there's nothing stopping a blind man being a sound engineer. Far from it. Probably make a better one. But why aren't they? That's up to them. It goes on about why only small amounts of people, like 1% of 1% of professors that are black. Okay, fine. Again, ask black people why they don't want to go into academia and become professors. No one is stopping black people from doing anything. Lenny, you're a racist. Anyway, I'm going to come up and round this off. This has gone on far too long, and he doesn't deserve the oxygen. Someone needs to have a word with Lenny Henry and tell him to stop being racist, to stop looking for racism where it doesn't exist, and to stop trying to make divisions in society where we don't need any more divisions. He is the racist. Nobody is stopping black people from going to Glastonbury. Nobody is stopping black people for going into show business. Nobody is stopping black people for going into the law or into academia. If black people are not doing so, it's because they choose not to. No one's barring them. There are no laws. There is no segregation. This isn't South Africa. We have no apartheid. And for him calling himself a colonial, get it? Jesus Christ. You're born in Dudley. You're a Birmingham boy. Broomage. Done well for a little boy born in Dudley though, haven't you? Your big house, your big cars, your luxuriant lifestyle. Give it up. Stop being racist. And move on. Anyway, if you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment. And until next time, dear friends, stay safe, stay well, and goodbye.